Okay, these are dandelion flowers, and I have a theory that these can be used as a culinary spice. So last week we went out and picked a bunch of fresh green wild herbs and made a delicious goat cheese and wild herb tart. And in the pastry for that I used dandelion petals, and it stained the pastry a wonderful golden yellow colour. Now I haven't published that video yet, it's coming soon, but here's a little snip. Anyway, but I reckon it might be possible to dry these petals and use them as a kind of substitute for saffron. It won't have the saffron flavour, but it hopefully will have that saffron colour. And it might be usable in some of the same ways. So let's get started. So I went out with a dog and picked what must be, I don't know, 50 or so dandelion flowers from some nice clean verges away from traffic and hopefully away from areas where dogs are fouling too much. So I've got these back at home now, and all I'm going to do, I think, is snip the petals onto this piece of baking parchment and spread them out in a nice even layer and let the air dry them. I think that's all I need to do. So let's have a look. The trick here is to try to snip as much as we can of the yellow bit and as little as possible of the green bits. So it is going to be like this. And we can always pick those green bits out later if they're a problem. So this bit's just going to be a bit laborious. I think we'll probably do a jump cut right about here. Now it did occur to me that I might be able to just pull these out, but we're getting some of that fluffy stuff that's in there, which is actually the little parachutes forming for the dandelion seeds, and I don't think we want to eat that. I think that's just going to be unpleasant. Okay, and there's the last one. So what I'm going to do now is just carefully spread those out as evenly and thinly as I can, and then we're going to leave this tray in an airy place, out of direct sunlight, but somewhere warm and airy, but not windy, because these will just blow away. But for now, let's just have a little sniff of these flowers, because I got a feeling there is some aroma here. Yeah, there's just a sort of grassy, sweet, ever so slightly fruity aroma from these petals. Okay, so about 3 or 4 days later, we've got dried dandelion petals. Now, I did cut off too much of the flower, and so I've got some fluff mixed in with this, so you can see some little bits of the fluff sails have actually developed in amongst this. I can probably pick that out. I have winnowed a bit of it out just by taking it outside in a gentle breeze and doing this, and the lighter elements just blew away, but there is still some fluff mixed in there. So what have we got? We've got a yellowish substance. Now, I should say at this point, obviously I'm not expecting this to look like saffron. I'm just trying to see if we can use dandelion petals to make a culinary spice. So anyway, let's see if this has any kind of scent of its own. It's very subtle, sort of vegetal, slightly fruity maybe scent, but pretty subtle. So let's see if we've got a water-soluble yellow colour in here. What I'm going to do, I've got a glass of water here. I'm going to take a good old bunch of this stuff. I'll take some of the fluffier bits because that will save me having to deal with them, because this part is just an experiment. And I'm going to dump that in that glass of water. We're going to give that a good stir around and let it infuse for a little while. And we'll come back in a minute, strain that out and see if we've got any colour in there. It does, it's almost hydrophobic now. It's going to take some mixing in, so we're going to have to leave that to infuse for a bit and then see where we get on. I will also do the same with some boiling water, so I'm just going to go get some boiling hot water and we'll put a bunch in that and see if that makes a difference. So yeah, we've also got some water that's just off the boil there. Let's do likewise with that. Let's put a similar amount in. Give that a stir around. Okay, now this one here has been infusing for, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. Let's just tip it out and see if we've got any kind of colour at all. Strain it through this tea strainer. Well, not a lot. So there we go, that's the colour of there. Very, very pale yellow colour in there. That's a bit of a disappointment actually. I thought, based on our experience with the pastry, we might get more colour than that out of these petals. Never mind. Let's press on and try the hot water experiment. Now I'm not going to be able to put that in a glass, but I can strain it likewise into this container, into this other mug. Okay, now there we have got a bit more perceptible colour. It's still pretty weak, I would say, though, actually. Maybe I should have infused that for longer. Maybe I need to use more. Maybe I need to use fresh petals. Who knows? Well, I guess what I've got here is dandelion petal tea. Now, it'd be silly not to taste that, wouldn't it? Well, that's quite pleasant. Reminds me a bit of gorse flower tea, actually, but perhaps without quite so much astringency. Yeah, that's not a bad drink, actually. That's got some sweetness to it. A little bit of nutty, flowery, grassy sort of aroma to it. I don't know what that's going to do to me. Dandelion flowers aren't in any way toxic, but some parts of the plant are diuretic, so we may find that this stimulates my kidneys, but that's not a bad thing. I'm at home. I can drink some more water. Yeah, that's not bad at all, actually. So I'm thinking that dandelion petal tea could be quite a nice, sort of soothing drink. It's milder than chamomile. It's not got that soapy taste that sometimes chamomile tea has, but that's a very pleasant drink. It's got a little bit of, maybe a little bit of licorice sort of flavour to it almost, but it's very subtle. So that's the experiment of drying dandelion petals. Not exactly what I hoped for. I was hoping we would have a really strong yellow coloration in here, and we don't. So I think if we're going to do that in pastry or baked goods, we need to use fresh dandelion petals, like we did with that pie crust. I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.